I always get excited at the prospect of some winter fishing. Frosty mornings are often accompanied by calm seas, and today was one of those days. Hi, welcome to Daiwa Fishy Business. Well, it's a brisk winter's morning, but the sea is absolutely flat calm. I'm at the Mangere Bridge boat ramp, got the everyman ready to go, and what we're talking about today is winter fishing. Now, a lot of people, they winterize their boats and don't go out, but you get some magnificent days. You also get 4 seasons in one day, so you've got to pick your weather when you go winter fishing, but also you get some interesting species which become really, really easy to catch in certain areas that are relatively sheltered to fish. So what I'm doing today is I'm heading out on the Manukau Harbour, and we're going to go and chase some of my favourite fish to catch and eat, and that's the gurnard. But first of all, we've got to launch the boat. My new Everyman boat was fitted with the latest Balex automatic launch and retrieve system that made single-handed launching a breeze. Once on the water, I cruised up the harbour, taking special care to stay well within the channel markers, because on the Manukau there are large sandbanks everywhere. See here, the birds are sitting in very shallow water on the edge of a bank. Okay, we've travelled up to the top of the Manukau Harbour, and what I'm looking for when I gurnard fish is there's lots of channels and sandbanks in this harbour, and what I like to do is get up on the edge of those channels, because I think the gurnard use them as like little maps of the way to travel around the harbour rather than through the deepest parts. So I get on the edges of those channels where it comes up from maybe 12 metres to 10 to 7 metres very quickly here. The sandbanks, as you've seen before, they're exposed at low tide. I get on the edge of those banks and we drop burley down, and as those gurnard are travelling up and down with the tide, the burley will attract them to the boat and we'll get them. So we're setting a trap for gurnard. Just coming up on that 10 metres now. It's 10 metres on my GPS. Look at my sounder at the same time. Getting a good hold with your anchor is vital. I slowly reverse as I let the anchor down, and I make sure I let out plenty of anchor warp. This is so that your anchor does not tangle and the anchor gets a good hold in the strong current. Okay, first tip of the day, gurnard fishing. The Manukau has huge currents because basically the whole of the small harbour empties out each day, so the currents can be quite strong, up to 4 or 5 knots at times. Around here we might get 2-3 knots of current, so you need lots of weight. I've got 2 dive weights plus weights in my burley pot here to anchor it to the bottom. And the other thing is we anchor it forward of the boat rather than at the back of the boat for 2 reasons. One, the trail will go underneath where the baits are going when you anchor, put your burley forward. And the other reason is when you're pulling in fish, you're not going to get tangled up in the burley line all the time, which is a real pain. So we'll get the burley down. So there's a variety of rigs that you can use to catch gurnard, and one of the key things is weighting your system. Now, this is a massive sinker, it's 20 ounces, and the reason I'm using this one is one I'm going to anchor straight down below the boat. So quite often the gurnard will swim up there, and also what I'm going to do is at the top of my rig, I've got some mustard flashes here. At the top of the rig, I'm going to add a smaller sinker, so it keeps the rig flat on the bottom, kind of like a long line. So you've got 2 weights to hold the line flat on the bottom, and hopefully the gurnard will come past these flashes, and Bob's your uncle. The best weight rig to use for gurnard fishing is about 6 to 8 kilos, and I like to use a trace of around 15 to 20 kilos. So what I've done is I've set a trap basically. I've put 3 rods out at the moment in different areas behind the boat, baited with different sorts of rigs, because you never know, on one day one rig will work a lot better than others, but I've got it all set up. I've got 1 close, 1 far out and 1 medium, and they're all baited with salted bonito, so the trap's set. Now I just need to get the bite. There we go, that's a solid bite. Oh yes! By the looks of that bite, that was a bit too solid. I don't think we've got a gurnard here, but it's one of the other fish that super reliable. You catch them all year round. Yep, there we go. A beautiful Manukau Harbour, Kahawai. He will go beautifully in the smoker, and he's always a welcome addition to my catch. Circle hook right in the corner of the jaw. What is it this time? Oh yes, finally. The first of our gurnard for today. The Manukau Harbour carrot. Always pays to grab these with a cloth because they've got very, very sharp, spiny heads. Beautiful fat fillets too. Yum. You only need to hook the bait up once through a circle hook. And I like to use long, thin strips of bait. I think the gurnard sort of eat their way up it. Gurnard feed on crabs and other small fish like baby flounder. I find they really like salted bonito bait. Here we go. Just wound onto that one, let the circle hook set up itself. What have we got here? Oh yes. Another beautiful gurnard. They're starting to bite. My smile's getting bigger and bigger. I just love catching these things. Give your burley a good shake and check it every hour to make sure you've not run out. Here's a bite. Yep, another solid hook up there. Just amazing, you know, they come and go. 1 minute, you know, you're catching carp and think, oh, where's it? Oh, here's another one, look at this. And it's quite amazing because the rods around the boat, each one's taken its turn at catching fish, and at certain stages of the tide, one has worked better than the other, so it really pays having those different rigs. Dinner's looking pretty healthy now. Let's get it. Oh, that was a solid bite. It's been a funny old day. Winter can be like that. Oh, look at that. Look at that. That's a ripper gurnard. That is a beauty. Loving that. Biggest one today by a long shot. That's a hog. Beautiful fish. Coming up, Darren has his au naturel in winter. How do you like yours?
Winter in the deep south can be very cold, but never too cold to dive. The wind can also be a problem, but not if you know a secret. I'm about to go oyster diving in the deep south. It's a southern secret not many people know about, especially where we are. Everybody knows about the bluffies, where you get those, and how they dredge those, but these we're going to dive for. And you're not allowed to dredge for them because of the area we're in. That's why it's a southern secret, and I'm going to show you what they're like. Come and have a look at these. These oysters were seeded here. It's a beautiful secluded spot, protected from the weather and nice and shallow to allow divers to snorkel and easy feed. The size limit for oysters is 58 millimetres, and you're allowed 50 per person. The season goes from the 1st of March till the 31st of August.
So the black ones on the top are mainly dead ones. The ones that are alive, are they sort of semi-hidden or not?
Yeah, they'll just be sitting flat on the
surface.
You'll see them.
Yeah.
This bed is small. Unfortunately, a greedy, uninformed group of divers cleaned it out a few years ago. It now appears it has rejuvenated and is looking pretty good. In the 86-87 season, Fovo Strait beds were struck down with a parasitic problem that saw them struggle to recover until around 1994. Starfish are a big problem and can travel from oyster to oyster quite quickly. Watch this starfish move. This starfish is trying its best to eat this one. It seems a real shame for such a juicy delight to go this way. Fish can also be found on these beds. The leather jacket is eating a horse mussel fed to it by a diver. So Mark, you want the big ones, mate? Just the 2 big ones. The others are too small. Something to be wary of down south are sharks. Even in this shallow water, these 7-gill sharks are on the prowl. Always treat them with respect. The wetty suits give us the necessary protection we need in these chilly southern waters. Some guys are using a 5mm. I like a 7mm. It's amazing how different we are with what our bodies can regulate. I really feel the cold easily. With this suit I'm warm all day. Horse mussels are a tasty surprise. Try one. Their white mussel is sweet, not unlike the white mussel in a scallop. This is Bronte Wooding, a good southern lass who can foot it with the boys in her wetty 5mm lady suit. The oysters are easy to see, so Bronte covers the ground reasonably fast to get as many as she can each dive. Bronte makes sure she takes time on the surface to sort her catch and breathe up properly. Using a net bag means the excess sea creatures and sand will fall free of the bag easily. Oyster shells are extremely sharp. Jim Parker of Warkworth uses the oyster diving to increase his breath hold. He's new to the sport and did really well as a first timer. Being so shallow, a little extra lead can help keep you down. Notice my legs floating up. Diving a little light is safer. This is a fantastic resource and should never be exploited. We don't actually take our limit, just enough for a feed. I really enjoy this relaxed hunting in shallow water. There's lots to take in and the rewards are the best. Because of these pristine conditions, these oysters are some of the best in the world. As I said earlier, oysters are extremely sharp and need to be handled extremely carefully, especially when opening. You can buy special oyster knives designed just for the purpose. Opening oysters is a real art. Watch how one of the locals does it. Our Southern Secrets oyster dive is complete. As you can see, you saw the underwater footage. You saw a few things that were feeding on them, I think, like the starfish and things were killing them. Now I'm going to feed on them. Thank you, Linda. Look at that. Can you see that at home? For some of you, I know it looks awful. But doesn't get any better than that.